between the lower body and the upper body. The jersey is stretched out. The hands are back well. Front shoulder is down. I mean, this is pretty. You talk about the legs being close together, but this is pretty picture perfect. It's picturesque in what I see in his swing right here. And I think this is a great representation of a major league hitter getting to the proper torque position to hit a ball a long way. I mean, I'm looking again. I can't get my eyes off that front foot. I can't get my eyes off the back foot. The ground force that he's generating, his ability to sit in his legs, um, the front shoulder being down, the hands being up, the knob of the bat pointing to the catcher's feet, and just ready to uncoil and rotate around that spine. Um, but that's sort of where I have it paused here, and I'll let you take it the rest of the way. But maybe you've gotten to that torque where he is on the torque position. What's your take on his torque here? I mean, it's tremendous.
It's perfect, and he's built for it. I mean, that's guys that are a little bit more wiry, right? They're not quite as thick as like a maybe a David Ortiz or back in the day like a Jeff Bagwell. They're gonna, or even a Vlad Jr., right, isn't gonna create as much torque as someone like Bryce or Griffey or Williams, dating back. So yes, this is perfect. I was doing annotations all morning for my online academy people, and 4 out of 5 of them could not get to this position. They got to this position with their legs, but what happens is their front shoulder, instead of their front shoulder staying down and their hands being back, their front shoulder was up and their hands were already like down here coming through the strike zone. Well, that's an issue because we don't get any stretch, right? So if I put these angles on here, his chest is facing there, his hips are facing there, perpendicular to his hips. Most big leaguers are 35 to 40 degrees there. So this is always a checkpoint for me if a player can get there. Pretty much every advanced player that I look at, so if I'm scouting a college guy or a high school guy that's going to go pretty high in the draft, or even a younger international 13 to 15-year-old, I would say 95% of those athletes get to this position. Where if I'm working with players that are, say, 10 to about 14, sometimes older, I would say maybe 20% of them get to this position. That's it. So it's something that we stress a lot when we're training players in the lab or I'm doing the online stuff. This is crucial. This is checkpoint number one. If we don't get to a good position here where our upper body is back as our lower body opens, we're in trouble. So as you were saying, Jim, you can see his front foot's we talked about this ground force move. Usually about 60 degrees is ideal. 60 degrees means this knee's going to open. That was the wrong tool there. Sorry about that. But when this foot opens, the front knee is open. Yeah, that front knee is going to face, towards the, down the left field, or for him down the left field line, while keeping the hands back. A lot of players get to this position with their legs, but their front shoulder's up and to the right. So another thing to point out here is his top hand. This is the highest of really any big leaguer that I see at launch. We probably talked about this before with other players, but and Yelich, most players, the top of their top hand at swing launch will be at the low point, the chin, and at most commonly will be kind of at the ear here. Okay, you can see he's almost 3 or 4 inches higher than that. So what does that help him do? It helps him keep his back shoulder up and his front shoulder down.
Yeah. I'm looking at his, and I see you drawing the green lines with the chest, the green line. You're pointing it back towards that back foot, and then of course the hips. You're pointing that green line, drawing that green line towards that front foot. You're demonstrating torque and the separation there that he's. By the way, I just want to say, maybe it's just me. I don't like using the word separation when it comes to hitting. I know people do, and I'm sure you do too. But I
Yeah.
like torque. I don't know why. I like the word torque. I think it helps. It better demonstrates, at least for me, what a hitter is trying to do there.
Yeah.
But I look at that, and I mean, to me, that's pretty ideal position. Here's the one question I have though for you. He does have his front shoulder pointed down more. And you mentioned that players, you see them, they struggle getting that front shoulder down, which limits their torque. How do they work on that? What can they, as much as you can tell me without giving away all your secrets and taking people away from the online hitting academy and the lab, How do they fix that? Because at times I struggled with that too.
Oh man, we have so many different ways to fix it. You almost have to trick players into doing it. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll just do dry moves. I'll have them take their stride and
Yeah,
plant and stop and feel that position. What is your body telling you there? What does that feel like? Front foot's down, hands are still back. Okay. Now, can we take that feel into a full swing? And you know what? You don't know unless you put video, slow motion video on them. You don't know if they're doing it right or not. I can't look at somebody full speed and say, "Oh, that was better." I mean,
yeah,
it's you have to film every single swing. It's a very tedious process, but we have different tricks that we do with players with how we throw them the ball. Maybe how they start their stride, what they're thinking about with their front shoulder. With their chest, maybe breaking things up into two different parts of the swing of the drill. So there are different tricks, and in time, players get it. I mean, I've had players working on that move for a year, and all of a sudden, maybe 53 weeks later they get it. You just don't know, and then sometimes players will get it 2 weeks down the line.
sure, sure. So if we keep going here with the swing again, we're looking at the Nationals video. For those listening, of him hitting a home run in 2018. For those watching along, we're double screen, double sided here on the Epstein YouTube hitting page and the Facebook page. Well, what do you think of his bat lag here in the video clip of the Nationals when he's swinging with the Nationals here? I think the bat lag's pretty good. I guess let me back that up a little bit. That pitch looks like it's an inside middle in type pitch.
It is.
Kind of.
So, and this is let's trace this back. So, if we watch his stride, normally, Harper's going to he's going to reach out with this leg and probably get to about there. He's going to have a much bigger hip slide during his stride, but you can see how he just kind of drops it short. So, if we draw this space between his feet in the torque position, even though he's wide enough here, he's usually way longer down here at the bottom. Okay, so he definitely saw this pitch. He recognized this pitch. He got to about right here, and he's like, you got to the top of his stride, and he's like, okay, well, that's middle in. I better get my foot down quicker. That's why having a stride is so beautiful. Okay, it's because when you can learn how to control the stride, you can drop it quickly, which he does better than anyone. And more importantly, if it's an off-speed pitch, you can keep it in the air longer and buy yourself another maybe 12 inches on letting that ball travel. Now, that is only done by having a stride when you're 6 years old, 7 years old, always having that stride. If you never stride, I have players now I'm working with that are high school players. They've always had a fast, short stride, and now they're like 16, 17 years old. We can't change that. That's going to be so difficult to change because they don't know how to control the stride. It's just been almost part of their swing versus part of their pre-swing. So, that's the first thing that we do here. We notice this pitch is more inside because he drops short. He drops short with his base. Now, if we take him to his short approach position, which is, we talked a lot about this with Yelich. Okay, this is usually from when heel plant happens to this position is where things go wrong. And if we look here, this is when his chest starts to open. Okay, so we're seeing it on both of these. Notice how the knob of the bat is before or in front of his back elbow. So there's zero drag. Look how close the bat is to his head here in the BP swing for sure. Even here, I mean, that's really close. The bat's still very vertical. He hasn't dumped that barrel. He's not dropping it back here towards the catcher. It's still up. And then as he continues to his bat lag position, which is what you were talking about here, that's pretty good. What I look for in bat lag is the knob equal to the elbow when the bat is equidistant from the camera. If you look here on the right, you're going to see more of a Yelich move. Okay, notice how he's steeper, right? His barrel stays up longer. He's pulling the knob a little bit more out in front. Now, maybe this pitch was further away from him, but that's about the same part of the swing. So notice how his barrel is up. So you can see in BP, he's trying to flight the ball down now, meaning he's trying to swing more level. Why is he doing that? Is it because he normally swings up too much, so he has to think, oh, I'm going to swing down a little bit too much? Is he just trying to hit line drives up the middle? I don't know what he's doing, but the key is he can do both. If he needs to keep his barrel up and stay on top, awesome. If he needs to drop his barrel more, which he's not doing here, but say he got to this position and his barrel was down here, okay. Like, I'm cool if you drop your barrel like that. I'm cool if you keep your barrel up, as long as you can control it. And if I say do this, you can do that. And if I say drop it more, you can drop it more. That's the sign of a hitter that's in control and can make on the fly adjustments. Otherwise, you're just a robot and you take the same swing and you only hit a pitch in a certain location at a certain speed.
Yeah. Yeah, that bat leg, I'm fascinated by it.
You
The one
can,
on the video on the left, the
yes.
BP. Oh,
So you can
yeah.
see it here. Like if he releases the lag, okay, so this is, kind of what you're talking about, Jim. Like he's got the knob way out there and he's got the barrel way back here. Now watch how far the knob moves compared to the barrel, right? So the knob moved like 4 inches. He released it to the right and the barrel moved, kind of like this. So that's called speed right there. That's whip. Okay.
Yeah.
And then he kind of releases it out in front. You can see he hits kind of a low line drive. And he has this little shoulder shrug move, which forces you to roll your wrists. Now, rolling your wrists will actually increase the barrel with a huge risk of topping and rolling over a ball. If you can roll your wrists not over but around, it's a very cool way to do it. But it's very difficult and risky. Like Williams did it. Williams had this last minute acceleration that looked very similar to Harper here, where let's go to the one on the right, okay, where he's going to kind of, Harper actually, he didn't roll his wrists at all. You can see the difference here in this position. If I bring Harper on the left to extension a little more, see how his right arm goes down and his left shoulder goes up and he kind of shrugs. That's a very small move, but that just means he had a little bit more left forearm, left hand in it. But if you look at the swing planes themselves here, when he makes contact, so if he had a blast motion sensor on, okay, I mean, this isn't a perfect angle, but I would say, there's his barrel and there's the ball. Maybe he swings up close to whatever, 5 to 7 degrees, okay? If we look at this game swing, which will be a little bit more level, it looks like, because it was on a tripod, I'm sure, and he swings like this is more like maybe 10 degrees up, okay? So maybe that's the difference. But if you notice this pitch coming in, the pitch is only, 3 or 4 degrees dropping. Okay. So he actually got underneath this. So if we draw this line to the catcher.
Okay.
Okay. So this is, say here, that's 4-degree drop, which is a pretty good fastball. It's a 92 plus, 93 plus fastball. If he tried to hit it here, his barrel's, oh man, I hit the wrong button. All right, now we got to redraw. Okay. Take 2. What do we say? 4 degrees. So if we look at his barrel, he's a little bit under here. Okay, so he's not going to hit that pitch. He's going to foul it straight back. If he goes here, his barrel's here. He's probably going to foul it back a little bit higher. And then boom, watch his barrel come right back up, and then he hits it right here. Okay, so his happy zone on this was more out in front. It was like from here to here, I would say. Okay, so if he was a little late, he would have fouled that off, and no one would have seen this swing because no one would have recorded it if he fouled it up and back. Okay, so he was a little, he did have a little tiny, we talked about holes in the swing, right? Maybe just a little tiny, like 2-inch hole, where here on the left, when he's hitting a little line drive, he's right on plane. His, if we draw this pitch, I know it's a little bit blurry, but here's the pitch coming in. And if we draw, what was it, about like that? Notice how he gets on here. See how his barrel never gets below the green line?
Yeah.
Like it did. He gets to the green line, and it's on the green line, and then it's still on the green line, and then it's still on the green line. So he's on plane kind of between those two circles without going under and back up like he did on the right. So, that's what he's probably work on, because he knows, hey, once in a while I drop my barrel a little too much. Is that bad? No, that's not bad. It put himself underneath. And so what is that going to mean? Well, it means he's going to hit the bottom of the ball a little bit more. Okay. Where this one here is more of a Yelich swing plane. So what does Yelich do? He's going to get into his legs more to make that ball go up. Okay. That's why this ball didn't go up. It left it on the exact same trajectory it came in, because
Yeah.
he hit the exact middle of the ball and he was perfectly on point. So really kind of good to see what guys do in BP. I posted something on my Twitter page. Nelson Cruz, probably in his basement or his garage or something, hitting off a hack attack and just,
Yeah.
he's not trying to like hit the top of the cage. He's just trying to like pretty much do what Harper's doing here. He's just trying to barrel things up and hit them right back on the same trajectory because he knows that once he gets amped up, that barrel's going to drop a little bit more and that's going to put him underneath.
Yeah. You said this to me once that taking BP, it should be about 75%. Get a feel, if you will, right? That's correct. I mean, it seems like Bryce getting a feel there on the video on the left.
Absolutely. And especially if you're working on mechanics, if you're working on something, you don't want to be 100% because you're going to do what you were doing before. You're going to do what's in your DNA. So if you're trying to change, okay, and that's a big part of, people ask, why are you a good teacher? Why are you able to communicate or why are you able to get players to change? Because it's not just about information. You can go on the internet, everybody's got information, like information that confuses the heck out of me. And I do this every day. But it's how I communicate that information. How do I get a player to change the front shoulder, like you said? How do I get a player to flatten out and take this swing plane here? I had a kid, what a specimen. This kid came in from Louisiana a couple days ago, or early this week, and 6'4", 215 pounds, and like his legs, like we adjusted his legs, we liked his rhythm, we got him to sit behind the ball so his swing plane was better. He set our record in there. He hit the ball harder than our college guys. He was hitting at 103 point something miles an hour, 103.7 miles an hour. This dude was awesome. But that was just 2 days of getting him to adjust his body posture, right? Because we had the right information, the right drills for him to do it. Now, is he going to be great? No. Now he's got to learn how to adjust off-speed pitches. He needs to learn how to, recognize pitches, breaking balls. That's kind of what gives him concern. But now he's able to stay behind it and stay back more, and that's the first step.
Yeah. By the way, I noticed the legs more separated, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can see his back foot goes straight up. There's no pushing. There's no bug squishing with that back foot. It just comes straight up, and the more that back foot goes straight up, the more this knee comes in. The more this knee comes in, the more that hip can rotate through. If we look here, this is more realistic when he gets going, but he has a narrow base. But if you focus, sorry about that, if you focus here on his back foot,
yeah,
his knee is so violent coming down and in, okay, and his toes are kind of into the ground there, his back leg, but his knee is so violent coming in that foot pops up. Okay. And I always tell people, listen, that, a lot of people focus on the foot. And I tell players, sometimes they'll do this too much. And I'm like, don't even move your foot. Okay. Like, yeah, I want his back foot to look like this. And right now I'm working with a player and his back foot does this times 2, like it slides all the way to here. I might tell that player, don't move it. Stick it in the ground. And let's see what happens when they get their knee in. Well, I always tell players that the foot is like an earlobe. You can't move the earlobe by itself. You can move your head, and if your head moves, your earlobe will move, but you can't move the earlobe itself. And that's what I tell players is, look, hey, keep this guy grounded. Use this knee. This knee is going to pull the foot into position.
Yeah.
And then,
what about the hip snapping? Is that how does that correlate as well?
Yeah, so it's going to release this knee coming in. That's what creates the initial hip turn right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so when that knee comes in, his hips start to turn. And then as that knee continues and then this front knee pulls back, then these hips can really swivel through and explode and kind of snap through the swing.
Yeah. Can you go back to the timing window? You meant, and just kind of elaborate more on that, because you mentioned that earlier with both videos, the BP video when he's with the Phillies and the 18 home run with the Nationals. But the timing window seems to be bigger, obviously, with the BP swing, as we mentioned earlier. Not so much, though, I guess, with the Nationals swing, when he's with the Nationals, the home run.
Yeah, and it was still good, you know, with the Nationals one. I mean, maybe we haven't done it here, but I've looked at you know, a lot of players that their timing window is about 4 inches, you know, and that's not going to work. So at least Harper here on this one. Let me zoom out a little bit and then back in so we even these up just a hair. So if we draw that same deal, I'm just going to slide this over. Enter ball. Okay, so here's the ball. Looks like it's, if I follow the blur, it's about there, 4 or 5 degrees. So you can see, you know, I mean, he can make contact back there, but he's going to make good contact here, right when his barrel's coming up. And then the cool part is he extends his left arm so well that he stays on it. So now he's, I mean, he would have hit this ball even further here. And then he still could have hit it here. So that's what, a 3-ball window of destruction. But overall, he could have hit it there.
It's ideal. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
he could have hit it there and fouled it off, right? Or broken his bat. And he still is going to make contact back here. So let's not be fooled. Like, you know, his happiness is from here to here. But he could have at least battled with 2 strikes from there to there. Like, he's going to make contact. So that's excellent, right? That's,
yeah. What's the degrees of those 3 balls, the small square though?
you know, it was, the pitch itself was 5 degrees coming down, and I believe his bat was like, what, 7 we said going up here.
Okay. The attack angle was 7.
I would say, I mean, it may have been, you know, there's a 10-degree attack angle, so it's probably 10 where he hit it. And that's perfect, right? We talked about you want to be 10 at your front toes. That's where he was. And then he probably would have been closer to 12 or 13 out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's important too. You mentioned the front foot too. He's hitting it right around that front foot where you want to hit that pitch that's kind of middle in there, thigh high.
Yep.
Good point of contact.
It is. And if it was, you know, I mean, and he had to rush it, right? We saw him get his foot down early. But, you know, ideally, if that pitch was really far in and you're not a freak like him with 90-mile-an-hour bat speed, you probably want to hit that a couple inches more out in front.
What would you say his bat quickness is? Because he does have tremendous bat speed. But...
yeah, he's probably in that 0.15 range. Mm-hmm. You know, we could see if it's better than that, 0.14 on some pitches. But yeah, most big leaguers are actually they're pretty similar. They're all pretty similar. They're within 1/100th of a second for the most part. Maybe 2 if it's a, you know, backup infielder that's there for his glove.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of a cool way to check out different approaches in different environments, right? Here's a game environment. He's not thinking about his swing. He's like, I'm going to try to do damage. You know, I'm going to take my stride. I'm going to get going on time, and I'm going to let it rip. And then here, maybe he's like, you know what? I'm going to work on hitting balls right over the pitcher's head. Boom. And you can see it's just a very simple swing. I mean, I'll blow this up, and then we can just kind of look at it. You know, it's just simple, right? He's not crazy. Just, hey, it's BP, man. I'm going to find a barrel. Feels so good when I hit it off the barrel. That's what I'm going to do. Go back through the middle, okay? And that's how most big leaguers train their first few rounds of BP, is that's what they're working on, is that swing plane. So going back to timing itself, because I think this is really important, is, you know, we talked early in this little analysis here is, you know, what is rhythm? Rhythm starts here and it goes all the way to here. Okay, so load to launch, yeah. Load is just this. Okay, load is not a stride. Okay, load is getting ready to stride. That's a load. He's pushing down into his back heel, he's sitting into his back glute, and he's getting ready to lift his foot. So you can load anytime. Okay, you can load when the pitcher comes set. I'm going to load, maybe he's going to slide step you. You got to get into that book or that back foot sooner to get ready to stride. Then, okay, now I can pick my foot up. Notice when he picks his foot up, where's the pitcher? Okay, this is similar. He's not throwing from 60 feet, but the timing is going to be similar at 60 feet. Okay, he's lifting his arm. The coach is lifting his arm there, and Bryce is lifting his foot there. Okay, then he's at the top of his stride here when the ball is released. That's the same as during a game. He's at the top. So now he can just sit here and read. Oh, it's inside. Boom, he drops his foot quick. Oh, it's slower. He keeps his foot in the air longer. But that's the key. You got to be at the top of your stride when that ball comes out of the hand right there. And then all he's got to do is drop and go.
Sure.
Anyway, that's a good swing. That's a good analysis. You know, we learned some awesome stuff in terms of, you know, rhythm and timing and what makes this guy so successful.
Yeah. Yeah, that line drive, by the way, that doesn't have any topspin to it, does it?
No, I think he pretty much squared this guy up. You know, usually you can tell this point there's a net right in the way, but this point when he hits it 1 frame after contact, the ball is higher than the bat. There's the ball and there's the bat after contact. That usually tells me it had backspin and not topspin. Yeah. It would be the opposite. The barrel would have been up here and the ball would have been down here if it had topspin.
So the ball has to be higher than the bat.
Yes.
For help this backspin. Okay.
Yep. And that usually just means we hit below the equator and our barrel stayed low through contact. So many people try to swing up right at contact and that leads to actually a lot of topspin. Okay. And if you stay too low through contact, you'll just pop it up to an infielder. But, you know, I would say more players swing up too much through contact, whether they're rolling over their lead forearm or rolling their wrists or just swinging up too much to a high follow through, than players doing the opposite. And that's why you see a pull side shift, because when players are early, they're swinging up more and they'll hit a ground ball to the pull side versus a fly ball to the pull side.
Yeah, you know, where you're paused right now, by the way, you're paused at the point of contact. If you just keep it there for a second.
Yeah, right there.
Right there, yeah. You know who that looks like right there? I'll tell you. If you ever see Ted Williams pause at point of contact, that kind of looks like his swing plane, his leverage.
Yeah.
The feet, the chest, everything.
Yeah. The one thing that you would note, Williams would have dropped his barrel a little bit sooner. You know, more like what Harper does in a game than this, you know, flatter one. And yeah, he does. You know, Williams had a really strong top hand, left hand, and he would just flip that barrel through it. He would get slightly under. And I remember my dad telling me, I'm going to stop the analysis here for that, and we can